Hi, I'm Art Kaplan. I'm at the Division of Medical Ethics at NYU Grossman School of Medicine in New York City. An interesting issue has come to the surface, driven by some changes in the ethics of how we do clinical trials and how we view people who are in clinical trials. When I first got into medical ethics, probably back in the 18th century, well, maybe not that long ago, but in the let's say late 1970s, regulations were put into place and ethical principles for recruiting people into studies, referring people to studies in whatever area, oncology or neurological disease or whatever it might be, dermatological disease. And basically, we treated people as subjects, meaning passive people who were coming into studies, presuming they didn't understand much, presuming they were vulnerable, highly vulnerable to being mistreated by researchers. And the rules that were in place had been put there because of terrible abuses like the Tuskegee Study, where African American men in Alabama were denied proven treatment and lied to about it in order to study the impact of end-stage syphilis. Many other immoral studies were done. The Brooklyn chronic disease, Jewish chronic disease hospital studies to see if cancer could be transmitted, done on unconsenting, demented elderly people. There were studies done by the CIA where people were given psychedelic drugs without knowing that they were study subjects. Puerto Rico was the site of the first birth control studies, where the women involved didn't really understand and give consent to either the risks, and some of them got placebo. So protectionism was the ethos of research ethics. And what you did was you tried to make sure that people consented, and you had groups like research ethics committees or IRBs review the studies to make sure that they were truthful, that the science was sound, and lay out the fact that subjects needed to know their rights. Very protectionistic. Come up to current times. We've changed our moral thinking. Now we don't talk about subjects, we talk about partners or participants. People are recruited into studies more as, I'll say, if not equals, then at least people who are part of the family doing research. Are we worried as much about protecting them? Not as much. Many people today who want to get into research or who may ask you about research opportunities for their migraines or for their cancers or whatever it might be, they may come and say, I want to get access to the latest work because I'm optimistic that cutting edge research might help me. They're not worried about somebody denying them something. They're worried about missing out as much as they are anything else. Well, if you're trying to recruit people into studies, which is a problem still, a lot of people are still somewhat distrustful when they hear about research, it's still important to decide how you treat the participants, note the language, once the study is done. And I've written recently, and some others agree, we really owe it to the participants to get back to them with the findings of studies. So it isn't enough just to recruit somebody into a trial, do the study, decide whether you've got a publishable paper, and you're done because the study's over and you said goodbye to the participants. You need to find a mechanism, the study directors, the institutions sponsoring these studies, to give them the results of what happened. Partners who are working with us, if that's what today's subjects in research are, deserve to know the outcomes. Now, there are two ways we could do that. We could just post a website and say, go look, and everything that's there, whether it worked or it didn't work or it worked for a subgroup, is there. Or we could say, you got a bigger obligation. You've got to reach out to the study subjects, send them an email, send them a text and say, you know what, there is this website and you could go there and see what the results were. And we're going to post the information on that website in understandable language, not just put up a technical paper from a medical journal, but we'll have a one-page explanation of what we think we found, or what we think we didn't find. Now, I think being more aggressive about getting back to participants is a good idea. It does make them feel more like partners. We may build more trust in terms of getting more people to sign on to research and get involved with clinical trials because they're more trusting, knowing that we try hard to tell them the results, to tell them what went on, to basically get back to them when we've got some findings. However, I also have to concede, I'm not sure how many participants actually want all this information or would use it if we did a better job reaching out to them and saying, here's a website, or here's, we could mail you the findings, or however we want to do it. I think some study is needed there to really determine what people want. I think ethically we have an obligation to give them what we want, but I'll concede I'm not always quite certain that an aggressive posture, which is the one I'm pushing to get back out to them post-studies, is really what the participants, subjects, partners really expect or really would be pleased to have once they're done. So it's an area that we need to take a look, but I hope it's one that we do take a look at, because I feel if we treat the participants properly, we tell them we're going to give them the option at least to get back to them, they'll feel better, and word will spread that it's a good environment to try and sign up more for clinical trials. People's dignity, people's desire to know what happened when it's there is going to be honored. I'm Art Caplan. I'm at the Division of Medical Ethics at NYU Grossman School of Medicine. Thanks for watching.